Live from Israel, it's John's place. Good evening, everybody. With us once again in our studio audience, Mr. Paul Wiener. We know your position by now, right?
Yes, but I'm not
co-chair of the Likud Anglo Division.
But I want to make something very clear. I'm not in the audience.
Oh, you're in
He's in the audience.
in the studio,
Yes.
not studio. I apologize. Okay, tonight's show is about coexistence. Enough is enough. Ari Fould, Kim Levingran Yechezkel, Ziv Hashbi. These are three people who were cut down in the prime of their lives by Arab terrorists with total disregard for human life in areas that are so-called labeled in Israel as areas of coexistence. Ari Fould, as we all remember, was stabbed to death in the Gush Etzion Junction, where Arabs and Jews alike do their regular shopping, eat their falafel, go about their daily business. He was stabbed from behind by a 17-year-old terrorist who got up one morning, decided he didn't want to go to school. He preferred to stab a Jew to death. The amazing thing about that was the person he killed, there's always a life and a story behind the person who was murdered. But Ari Fould, a dual citizen of the United States and the state of Israel, his adopted homeland, was known by many around the world in English-speaking sections and in the state of Israel of a true lover of the Jewish people, the state of Israel. He was such a conduit between different people in the world who didn't understand what Israel was all about.
And I must say he was also a hero because he was killed, and in the process, he chased down the terrorist and actually shot him and died. But he prevented his terrorists from killing and stabbing other people at the market. So he was a true hero.
And now, just a few days ago, Kim and Ziv, working in an industrial zone of coexistence where over 250 Palestinians work in this factory in the area called the Barkan Industrial Zone, where over 3,000 Palestinians enter work daily.
I think it's even more than 3,000.
3,000, 4,000.
10,000, maybe.
Kim is a young mother of a 3-year-old boy, I believe, who's now looking for his mother. Eifo Ima. You just want it to be ripped out of your heart, the pain. And then there's Ziv Hashbi, who is a father of 3, whose children will never see him come home at the end of the day. And they can't say Shalom Abba anymore because he's gone. Now, there are people out there who are so proud of the coexistence that Jews and Palestinians could work together and live together. But what do we do when issues like this come up? We just go on. It's so simple for the politicians and the media to say we cannot have this interfere with our plans of coexistence. But if you're a family member of these 3 people, are you really interested in coexistence at this point, Paul?
No.
You wish to elaborate a little bit on that, Paul?
Well, the really sad thing is in Barkan, there hasn't been an incident for, I think, around at least 30 years. This is the first one. So it's there's a lot going on here with this terrorism. It's shortened their schools and everything else. You can't coexist with somebody that doesn't want to coexist with you.
How does a Palestinian terrorist get into this work area with a gun in his knapsack? How is that possible?
He had been working there for I think, about 6 months. And then he didn't show up for 4 or 5 weeks, and all of a sudden he showed up.
You're not answering my question. How did he get through a security check with a gun?
Because there's no
How did he run
There is-
out of the complex after he shot 3 people? He also injured another person,
Right.
besides killing the 2. How did he escape?
Listen, I've been to this industrial area, and there is no security check.
Go ahead, Sarah from
She
Rehovot.
wants to know where is this Barkan Industrial Zone located?
Paul, would you like to give us the area?
Right.
You've been there.
Yeah, I have been there. It's in Samaria, sometimes known as the West Bank,
Shomron.
Shomron. It's very close to Ariel. When you get off left is the Barkan, and to the right is Ariel.
Thank you.
Okay, does that help you out, Sarah?
Thank you.
It's at the end of Route 5, if that helps.
Okay, so now we all understand the concept of coexistence, but I'd like to know, what are the Israelis giving up for this coexistence? What do they benefit from this coexistence? Is it the Israelis benefiting or the Palestinians? And the Palestinians do not act like an equal as civilized people that we can coexist with them. If they can go to a site where they work every day and murder, and first they handcuffed and then they shot these 2 individuals, what kind of coexistence does that represent, Paul? Whereby Palestinians have no problem killing Jews. Let them go back to their villages. They would make a fraction of the income that they make in these industrial zones. And then when they have it in their mind that they might as well kill a couple of Jews or more, it's not a problem. I just go to work with a gun and kill them.
Well, the problem is, like I said, the Barkan, there hasn't been an incident there for about 30 years. And now we have this incident. The problem is you never know when one of these crazy lunatic terrorists are going to act. There are a lot of people, I mean, the majority of people that work there coexist in that industrial complex up till now. The problem is the future. And this terrorism is not just now, is not just in Israel like it's always been, but now it's spread all over the world. So it's not just an Israeli problem anymore. It's become a world problem. People are trying to learn from Israel how to, fight terrorism. There was almost a very big incident in France with terrorism that the Israelis helped stop. And
I have to tell you, sorry, Paul, I don't mean to interrupt.
It's okay.
But this is very little consolation to those families. This is very little consolation to that little boy who goes over to the refrigerator in his kitchen and sees the magnet pictures of his mother and goes, "Eifo Ima."
Well,
So what are we gaining by this? What is Israel gaining by the fact that we employ terrorists from time to time who from time to time are just going to kill Jews because that's what they do.
That's what they're taught to do in their schools, in their newspapers, in their television. They're taught, kill the Jew. And then they celebrate in Gaza by giving out candy. We killed a couple of Jews. Wow, isn't that great? It's terrible. It's an awful thing. I mean, if you're at war, there's armies, they fight. But what do? They pick on innocent civilians, women, children. They don't care. It's a problem. And the problem's getting bigger, and we have to find a solution to it. You know what I say? Just one more thing. A lot of Israelis that I've spoken to, and I disagree when they say, well, one day we're going to have to live with the Arabs. And I tell them, this is like half glass, half full, half empty. One day they're going to have to live with us. This is our country. And they have to understand this is our country, and they have to live by our laws.
I don't understand something. The position of the left constantly calls for us to give up our land in Judea and Samaria and give up rights in Jerusalem and give up rights in other places in order to come to terms with the Palestinians. They call for separation from the Palestinians because they think the only path to peace is to be completely separated from them. On the other hand, they want us to help them out with their ability to earn a living because the Israeli companies pay a fair wage, whereas the Palestinian companies pay probably poverty rates. So which way is it? If you have separation, why do we have to employ them? And if we have separation, why is it that we're the ones at risk as Israelis and Jews, but they have nothing to lose but to increase their quality of life? What are we gaining by this coexistence? We are the ones taking the chances. God forbid any of us would know or have a child, a daughter, a son, anybody related to us that goes off to work like any other normal human being around the world, and God forbid runs the risk of being shot and killed for the sake of coexistence. What are we gaining? What is that dead person gaining by the coexistence?
They're gaining absolutely nothing, and it's a terrible thing, like I said. But like I said, you need two peoples to coexist. We wish to coexist. We don't go around killing Arab men, women, and children, even though some of the fanatics in the world will like to say that we do, which we don't. But when they do it, they do it indiscriminately, and so it's very difficult to come to an answer to like a lot of the problems we have.
Listen, coexistence usually entails two somewhat equally entities or equally have the same mindset. They would like to have similar lives. They'd like to raise their children. They'd like the children to have better lives than they did, go off to college, become doctors, lawyers, and everything like that. That's one term. And then there's the other term that wants the same thing. And then you learn how to work together in a coexistence environment like they do in many other nations. But this is not equalized as a coexistence situation where one side takes, and the other side gives. We, the people of Israel, the residents of Israel, those working in Barkan, in the industrial park and other industrial parks around Judea and Samaria, they are becoming sacrifices. They are putting their lives on the line so that we could be nice and offer jobs to Palestinians. That's not fair coexistence. They are giving nothing to the equation, and we are giving everything. It's like the Oslo Accords. It's like other peace proposals that Israel has had over the years, that they're not on equal setting.
So now that you have all these terrorists committing all these acts of violence, is there a death penalty in this country for terrorists? Mark from Modi'in would like to know.
Would you like to answer that?
There is a death penalty in Israel. It's only been used once for indictment. Now, the problem is that we had on the books, if somebody's a terrorist, they should be put to death. They won't commit a terror crime again.
Now we put houses to death. That's what we do in Israel. If a terrorist kills a bunch of Jews, their house is sentenced to death. Now, I don't know where that is a deterrent, because the next day, all the family members of the clan living in the neighborhood rebuild the same house in the same place. So don't demolish the house. Demolish the person.
They should exile him and his family.
Correct. We've done that route in Lebanon. It didn't go very well.
No, we should export them out of Israel. They should lose their whatever they have.
Well, that brings us to another problem. You know, the court system in Israel,
which is
bogged down by all these left-wing NGOs that their job is solely to flood the court system so that it can't function properly, bringing these frivolous lawsuits against Israel for expulsion, for destroying a house, all these things that are legal under Israeli law. They bring all kinds of claims to the courts in order to clog up the efficiency of the court system. Isn't that true, Paul?
Yes, it's true. And the government has to do something to close all these ridiculous loopholes. You know, these laws are from one, even pre-state Israeli. The demolishing the home is actually what the British did during their occupation here.
And before we go to that point, there is also a law on the books that Israel will deduct the tax they receive on behalf of the Palestinians from the amount of money that is given to terrorist families as a salary and a payment, a bonus plan. May you understand, if you kill more than one Jew, that you will receive on a regular monthly basis. There's a law on the books, and not until Ari Fuld, Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be blessed, did they say they were going to act enact it. Why are you waiting? Why put laws on the books to help fight terrorism and the murder of innocent men, women, and children only because they're Jewish? Why aren't you enacting the laws? I don't understand that. Why is that?
I don't understand it either.
Why bother?
They have a lot of laws that they, pass. They're never even implemented, ever.
They can't even uproot a Bedouin town of 50 people.
You know what would happen if it was a Jewish town in Samaria?
We know what will happen. They rip up Jewish towns without any problem.
Without any problem.
Jewish soldiers come in and rip out the Jews. But anyway, we're a bit off topic. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, get the real news. We offer the real news. Nothing fake here. We are not I-24. The new fake news circulating around the cable network. Don't be fooled by I-24. Don't be fooled by CNN. Don't be fooled by any of these outlets who try to give you the truth from Israel. This is the true news. One more thing, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up at the end of the month, there are municipal elections. Vote, vote, vote. Whoever you believe in, just go out there and vote. It's your civic duty. You will become part of the Israeli nation when you vote for what you believe in. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, John.
Listen, we have to feel for those families. Just remember, we go to sleep at night and it kind of drifts away. These people will be living with the hell for many, many years to come, and we must feel for them and support them. Thank you and have a good night. Shalom from Israel.
Bye, everyone.
Boring. We did this every time. If you end the video now, you'll be able to choose you want to save it or delete.